This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. This program contains mature content and may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
A clean-up woman is a woman who gets all the love we girls leave behind. The reason I know so much about her is because she picked up a man of mine. Jumping slick was my ruin, 'cause I found out all I was doing was making it easy for the clean-up woman to get my man's love. Oh, yeah.
Good evening, Bahamas. It's amazing that every single Tuesday that I get on radio, the weather is different outside, and then at 6 o'clock, 6:15, the weather changes. It makes you just want to, be in the car or just be at home watching a nice Hallmark movie, but of course listening to Kenny's Corner first. So good evening, Bahamas, and thank you for tuning in once again. We welcome you this evening, to another inspiring edition of Kenny's Corner. We're here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We're going to talk about something that's a little bit different, a little bit taboo. I try to push the envelope, but I try to make conversation so that we can actually have the dialogue that builds a better society. Relationships and sex and health and everything that's in between. So this evening, we're speaking about global fertility and women's health strategies, how we understand our bodies, how we advocate for our wellness, and how we access the care we deserve. And joining us is a powerhouse in her field. I met her at a very, very interesting time. We had an opportunity to speak on a platform together, and her name is Dr. Taz Stewart. We call her Dr. Taz. We're speaking today about women's health. We're talking about educating, championing for women and their reproductive wellness. She's here to break down the barriers and bring clarity and give us the tools that we need to take control of our health journey. A lot of times we think about reproductive struggles, about infertility, and there are so many women that are so closed off about the situation or about the issue that you never know who's able to help you. But because everybody is so embarrassed by it, or because some people feel like, oh, I can't let anyone else know, you never get the help that you need. But Dr. Taz is a breath of fresh air, and she's here to talk to us about this. So let's settle. Let's turn on the radios. If you're watching us on Flow TV, welcome. You're tuned into Kenny's Corner. Good evening, where the conversation is to uplift, to educate, and to empower. I am your host, Kendenique Campbell. Dr. Taz, how are you?
I am well, Kenny.
Hi.
It's so awesome to be on your show this evening. How are you?
Dr. Taz, I am good. It is a sexy Tuesday evening.
Hey.
And I always have a tendency to let my listeners know when you get off the radio, get you some popcorn.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Tell them get comfortable.
Put your leg on that special person that you love so dearly.
Oh.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Taz, I put out the flyer, and when I put out the collateral, we have a conglomerate of questions. But I want you to introduce yourself. I mean, you are no stranger to women that have had a faith or fertility walk, or faith in fertility, or faith in infertility. So introduce yourself, please, and then we're going to go straight into our questions.
Yes, well, I am so grateful for the opportunity to come on your platform this evening. Thank you so much for the invitation. Good evening, Bahamas. Good evening. So, to give a little bit of background about myself, as you mentioned, my name is Dr. Latazia Stewart. Most folks know me as Dr. Taz. I tell them, don't call me the Tasmanian Devil, man. I know I just get a little excited, especially when I'm talking about something I'm passionate about. But yeah, I can take on the devil name, okay?
Yes, yes,
But
absolutely.
I serve as a women's health strategist, global fertility coach, a consultant to organizations around these particular issues. And I'm one who's just here to have folks know we could change the narrative.
Yeah,
We could change the narrative on a conversation that has been taboo for too long. There are still so many who are suffering in silence. I personally was one of them.
right.
And the reality is, I have been able to come out of my secret shame that the enemy has tried to hold my voice silent for so long.
Yes.
And God has used this voice that couldn't even at one point use the word infertility. Could you imagine? I couldn't even say the word infertility.
Amazing, amazing,
I could not
amazing.
even voice it, even though that was a diagnosis I had, I could not speak it. And it
Okay,
was not so much for not owning my truth, but the shame that was attached to the word.
okay.
I just held on to, and I could not voice it. I just could not verbalize it. But God was able to break that shame from over me, and in the process, allow this voice to help empower others in knowing there's no need for you to be shameful. It's just another medical diagnosis out there. And for those who may have walked a journey of loss or the pain and heartbreak of losing a baby,
Right,
which unfortunately I have also walked, God wants you to know that He hasn't forgotten you.
right.
And He has used this voice to help others on their journey in knowing that. And so here I am, empowering others, helping to pull the blindfolds off in our community and
Absolutely.
letting folks recognize the costs that it has on our families, in our workplaces, in our churches, and how to change it. How to change it. So that's
Now,
me.
now, Dr. Taz, when we speak about certain things here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, it's almost a shame, and it's people painting you in a particular light, and they don't want to necessarily have the real conversation. They'll have a conversation about everything else, right? But they don't want to talk about infertility. They don't want to talk about how to be your sister's helper. And sometimes we have to be cognizant of the fact also that it may not always be the women that are infertile, it may be the men. And
Mhm.
because it's just so characteristically normal for it to always be the woman, we
Mhm.
never think that it may just be the man,
Yeah.
you know? So I want you to talk to us about the infertility process, right?
Mhm.
I want you
Mhm.
to tell the women, if you can, and the men, because maybe there's a man listening and he wants to bring up the topic with his wife.
Mhm.
How do you have the hard conversation that we may be an infertile couple?
Mhm. Kenny, this conversation comes so real just now. And let me tell you
Yeah.
how real this conversation just became. I had a conversation today
Yes.
with a family member
Okay.
who I did not realize was experiencing challenges right now.
Okay. Okay.
And he's a male.
Okay. Okay.
This reality of individuals in our community believing that this conversation about infertility or fertility challenges or reproductive challenges, right, is just a woman's issue. And this is Men's Month, so I'm glad that you brought it. You brought it into the conversation earlier than later.
Yeah.
Um, it transcends gender. It doesn't matter, right?
Okay.
Because here's the data: 1/3 of infertility cases are connected to women. 1/3 is connected to men, and one
Mm.
third is unknown. So, of all the diagnosis cases, we're talking 50% of the cases of a man and woman, it's 50-50.
It's 50-50. It is 50-50.
Because when we look at that pie and we say 1/3 for the woman, 1/3 for the man, and 1/3 is unknown, when it comes to the man and the woman, they're on even playing fields.
Not even
And
close.
I've interviewed men on my program, Fertility Fridays, before, and I remember one guy in particular sharing, for him, while it was taboo, he was really hoping the problem would have been with him because from his reading and understanding, most challenges that relate to men and men as it relates to the fertility aspect, it's an easy fix.
Yes.
So our men don't have to run and hide because don't cut off your family tree because of your shame.
Exactly.
Do not end your generational legacy because of fear of what somebody else is going to think.
Yes.
Step out and be bold and say, you know what? I want my son, I want my daughter. Tell me what I got to do.
Tell me what I have to do. Let me know.
Because it doesn't necessarily have to be the lady. And unfortunately, I've seen some relationships fall by the wayside because the husband, the partner, they were like, she can't have no baby. She can't have no baby. When it wasn't even her.
It wasn't even her.
I had a young lady out of Grand Bahama share that story with me. She's like, Pax left her. And come to find out, it wasn't even her.
My goodness. So Dr. Taz, when you talk about the infertility portion of it, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that the shame of it all makes us not want to have the conversation?
Yes.
But why you shame? Like why be shamed?
Here's why we are ashamed. I'll tell you why I was ashamed, because we're not having the conversation. There is no dialogue within our community, as we see very prevalently related to other health conditions.
Right.
We talk about cancer all the time. We talk about, lupus. We have all these other health conditions that we've normalized the conversation around. But when it comes to this one, we're not there yet.
I want to say too, though, we play around a lot with mental health as well. We get on a platform and we say, oh, we're going to look at mental health. It's mental health awareness. But after like Mental Health Awareness Week or Mental Health Awareness Day is done, nothing else is said about it. But I sat in traffic yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. You drive into school in traffic in the morning, so you have to get up for 5:45 just to get a child to school for 8:15, right? Now this is 5:45, and you are in traffic for almost a full hour and a half.
My God!
To get them to school. The first school bell rings at 8:15. You are frantic. You already take your first pressure pill in the morning. Then you have to scramble to get them for 3:00, and the 3:00 traffic lasts until 4:45. And then if you get caught in 4:45 traffic, it lasts until 7:30.
God help you.
So you spend in at least 5 hours of your day in traffic. But nobody thinks about the mental wear and tear on a person that has to do that every single day.
Every day.
But I want you to look at some of these questions that we have here, right? Mm-hmm. And this one question says, how much do you think about fertility while planning your career and your future? I'm 35 years old. I have no children and almost no prospect for a husband or even a decent relationship because the pool in Nassau is filled with urine.
Oh my. Oh my.
Well,
let me start by let me say this to the sister who sent that question first. And I call it what we call it in Nassau, right? Pee. Okay.
Yeah.
The pool ain't full of pee. Everybody in the pool ain't got pee on them. I promise you.
Okay.
We are blessed with some very brilliant, amazing, spirit-filled men in the Bahamas.
Okay.
I know because some of them in my family. Okay.
Dr. Taz, try to send these numbers so these women could get one.
I
One
put it
yeah?
there. I have some of them in my family, and I have some eligible bachelors in my family too.
All right. Now we could come and
Let
ask
me put
Dr.
that on the
Taz.
record. But so I want to make sure that we are lifting up our men and recognizing that not all men are lost. There are some challenges we have, but all men are not lost. So starting there. Second, at the age of 35, if you don't have an eligible bachelor in prospect in your view, and you are concerned about your family tree, I want to invite you to consider egg freezing.
Okay.
Like, we have to sometimes realize that God has more than one way to fix our situation, of which we don't know the first one.
Okay.
Education is empowerment. You hear me? Education is empowerment.
How do we
And
educate the women?
we got to have more of these conversations. Like, our leaders in government, in our church, and our workplaces need to, again, take the blindfolds off and recognize we have, just like you said, the 35-year-old young woman who saying all our men, in the pool with urine, and she wants to have a child someday, but she ain't seeing how that's possible as she grows in a profession.
As she grows in a profession, and then you have to also look at the fact that sometimes men may feel emasculated by an ultra strong woman. And then as a woman, you have to be able to turn that off and not emasculate this man, because you have to be very mindful of that, eh?
Yeah, there's that. Now there's that.
You have to be mindful.
Because
So
we know the brothers like a woman who is well put together, but he wanted sometimes to be like a flower too. Sometimes we gotta.
you're
It's
sweet.
okay to be soft, ladies. We ain't gotta be.
You're sweet and gentle flower.
Oh, okay.
So when you talk about egg freezing, who does egg freezing? How would they get the information about egg freezing? How does that happen?
So there are many clinics around the world in the U.S. And you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to doctors to seeing their paid ad, by the way, y'all. And I'm just put it out there. They are now the first IVF clinic in the Bahamas that are providing services related to this. Right?
In the Bahamas?
Listen me, you hear me? In the Bahamas. In the Bahamas. Douglas Hospital, who is one of the partners that I've had the pleasure of working with since I've been in this work. There's now an IVF clinic on Blake Road. And they will be sharing more of that and giving resources away at the conference next year. They were at the conference this year that I hosted at Atlantis, the Fertility Empowerment International Conference. Y'all save the date, April 16 and 17, okay? Y'all see y'all next year. But there's so much education and resources available. And I would invite them to just reach out and find out more about what we're doing locally to that. There's places, of course, in Panama, the U.S., there are many places you can look into that, but do not be ignorant. And if you're just like, oh, it's just too much information, I don't know where to go, how to do, then give me a call. Give me the call. Let's sit down. Let's look and make a plan where you should go, who you should talk to, what should be next steps, because you don't have to do this alone.
No.
And you don't have to do this ignorantly. All right?
But Dr. Taz, I live right here, and I had no idea that there was an egg freezing facility. Like, I would have never
can go and you can do that. In fact, I just spoke with Dr. Mary this week to confirm that the facility is not. And he said we are up and fully running to accept our frozen eggs. And I can share that with you because what folks don't realize with the work that I do, while I do consulting for organizations that are trying to find ways to empower their women in their health in the workplace. When I do one-on-one coaching with folks, I sometimes encounter situations that are more challenging. And sometimes folks think that this conversation is only for those who are trying to have babies. No, let me bring it real to you. When you get a call from a young woman who is 31 years of age, who was just diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, and she said, I was only thinking about my job and, the promotion and everything else, and then come to find out I have cancer, and the doctor tell me that when I'm finished with chemotherapy, I'm going to be infertile. Dr. Taz, I want to have children. What should I do?
What should she do?
And that's a conversation that I am now able to sit with her and lay out an action plan and steps on what she should do, how she should do it, and also provide her that additional support to execute on that so that she can preserve her fertility. It's like setting aside insurance, if you may.
It's like insurance. But Dr. Taz, let me ask you this next question, right? Because this of course, this is coming in now, Dr. Taz. Drop the numbers for the fellas. Okay, that was just a comment. This question is, what myths about fertility did you grow up believing?
What did I grow up believing?
What myths did you grow up believing?
That when I get married, after I then gone to school, do all the right things, that I was going to be able to have a baby with no problems. That was what I believe, and that was a myth. I learned that the hard way. Kendika, listen to me. I wasn't, don't get me wrong. I got friends of all kinds. Okay?
Yes.
I got all kind of friends.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I ain't judging nobody, but I was the one who say, I'm going to go along the straight and narrow way.
Yeah.
I can go up to church. I can do all the church programs. I can go to school. I can, I find my boyfriend and I can wait. And then, when me and him get married, when we then get married, I come from a big family. So, man, look here. We got plain children in my family. Ain't gonna be like the pastor at my wedding, and I speak about this in my book. The African pastor at my wedding prayed, when they have children, Lord, the house will be running over. So as far as I was concerned, when me and my husband good and ready, having children would never be an issue. But I had a very rude awakening. It was not just rude awakening. It was shocking for me that we would experience challenges having children.
Okay. And so and you had to normalize it, or did you have to conceptualize, or did you have to ratify your feelings after the fact? Like, how did you reconcile with that?
There are many times when me and God would be in the quiet of my room with me crying and wondering, when would it be my turn? I would see individuals, friends, everywhere I would go, having babies. Even like the conversation with my relative today who shared, everybody having babies and I'm happy for them. But what about me? And it really took a very sincere walk with God. And having him, I go very in depth in this in my book. Him, I could almost say it was literally telling me, I didn't forget you. I did not forget you. And sometimes I know some folks may say, well, so-and-so pray, and so did this, and so did that, and they ain't had no children, and they accepted that. Listen, my faith is that if God has told you he's going to do something for you, I don't care what it looks like. He's going to give you the resources. He's going to give you the tools. He's going to bring whoever he needs to bring alongside you. And I can promise you, he's going to bring that promise to fruition.
When you think
no matter what it looks like, the plan, tools, resources are there.
When you think about the societal pressure, Dr. Taz, talk to us about overcoming the societal pressure of, because Bahamians are very insensitive. They walk up to you and they say, "Oh, you fatty!" Like that's a regular greeting that regular people do.
Greeting. Yep.
Or if you've been married for more than 2 years, they say, "Well, you ain't have no children yet."
Mm-hmm.
How do you get past?
I heard all of it.
How do you get past the societal norm?
We as a community need to help empower others. I remember in my case, I was standing right in National Insurance Board yard. Okay? I can't remember what I was there for. And a former work colleague, I hadn't seen him in a few years, but he remembered when my husband and I were dating. And he's like, "Oh, you and so y'all got married?" I said, "Yeah, man. Da, 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 how long y'all been married now?" And I told him how many years. He's like, "So how many kids y'all have?" Right? The question, how many kids y'all have? Everybody want to know how much children you have. Don't mind your own womb. Nonetheless, me, as young as I was and as naive, I was just like, "No, we don't have any kids. We don't have any kids yet." Now, I can tell you during that time, we were actively trying. And when I told him we didn't have any kids yet, his most casual, off the cuff remark was, "Well, what happened? He shooting blanks?"
Exactly, exactly. Or sometimes they say, "Well, what happened to you?"
Yeah. What happened to you all? Is he shooting blanks? And I sheepishly, in my naive, said, "Now, my voice, like I tell you all, I didn't got my voice now. I got the voice to give give the voice to the ladies when they get those type of questions." But I sheepishly, in my embarrassment, shame, just laugh it off. Y'all don't laugh it off. Don't laugh it off. You
Tell,
can
tell,
directly tell them that's none of your business. Or no, we don't have any children. And no, he's not shooting blank. And really, you have crossed the line in this conversation. You
but
have to be direct.
but we are so accepting of the rude things that people say.
We are so too
Really,
accepting of it.
we never really
Too
quite put
accepting of
people
it.
in their places, you know?
Too accepting of it. And the thing is, it can also be a very good opportunity to educate the next person and saying, we're having challenges right now. And this is a conversation really that's out of the scope of what we should be having, you and I.
Mm,
Like it's really, this is between me and my husband.
exactly.
And it's inappropriate what you have just shared. It
When
was
you
inappropriate for you to reference that my husband is shooting blank. It's very inappropriate for you to ask me, when am I going to have children?
This is a question,
Call
Dr.
it for what it
Taz.
is.
This is a question, Dr. Taz, and the lady is very explicit in asking this question. It says, how does fertility stress affect your marriage emotionally? I've known for quite some time that I may be infertile. I think this question is for me. How does fertility stress affect your marriage emotionally? I've known for some time that I may be infertile. Kenny, I remember you having triplets and being flown away. Okay, so this is a question for me, Dr. Taz. I didn't read the question properly. Okay, so I had triplets, right? And I got a cyclage, and at that particular point in time, there was no antibiotics given, I think, or there was no memory of me getting the antibiotics. And so I became septic. And so I had a secondary doctor, Dr. Lyons, and Dr. Lyons was the person that realized that I was gravely ill in doctor's hospital. And Dr. Lyons told my then husband, he said, "Listen, if you can get her out now." And then I was flown to Regional Memorial. And by the time as I landed in Regional Memorial, landed in Miami at Regional Memorial, I quoted, and I would have remained that way for the next 2.5, 3 months. The babies were born alive, Madison, Amina, and Aaron, and then they later died. And so we had them cremated. We had a service when we got back to Nassau. But the fertility issue, again, and I will say this to the person that texted, it doesn't always have to be the woman that has the fertility issue, It can be the man. And because men in our society may not want to have an open dialogue about it, it creates an issue. But I will say to you that having suffered the loss, it makes me having my daughter now even more precious because her name legitimately means God answers prayers. So to my texter, and my texter, if you want to message me privately, you can. I have no problem with sharing my story at all. Anything you want to know, you can ask. I have no problem because
Yeah.
maybe me sharing with you, I'm able to help you and you can help somebody else. So each one help one is what I'm thinking.
That's right. That's
Uh,
right.
This is another question that has just come in. How do you cope with societal pressure to have children quickly? Okay, we already answered that. We would have answered it already. This question is, what role does faith in your spirituality play in your fertility decisions? I'm Anglican. I go to church every Sunday. My husband has a daughter from another relationship, and his ex often says, "You leave a woman with a child to go with one that has none." My God.
Mm. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And women can be cruel.
They are. They
Yeah.
are. Many are. Actually, I have a client story very similar to that. And it's unfortunate that you would have women not wanting to lift up other women. I mean, I get it. It's her ex, and maybe there's still some sour grapes there, but don't pull down another woman in the process. Show them if the other woman is the one who did the wrong, like, you rise above that. Because when we start throwing mud, we in the mud too. We have to bend down to pick up the mud. So we get mud on us in the process. So let's not throw mud. But
When
if
you
you are the one that's on that receiving end of somebody throwing that mud at you, and they are speaking about your ability to conceive with your partner, and you're thinking to yourself, I am a woman of faith. Why is it that I'm the one walking through this journey? As I look back over my life right now, Kenny, I can tell you God doesn't waste anything. God doesn't waste anything. And if you're walking through a season of infertility or loss, I can promise you, God is going to turn that pain into purpose in ways that you may not even know of right now. I'm one of them. Because when I tell you my voice was silenced, not just by the shame, but also by the pain of what I was going through, I asked God directly, and this is a chapter in my book, God, did you forget me?
mm, we
God, did
we
you forget me?
we have to often we often I think we often ask God that question, and I think if we want to be honest, we ask him that more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
I have two texts, and the one text says that uh, listening to the show, awesome show, Mother's Days are the worst. I remember
Mm-hmm.
the same conversation is how we met. Yes, the friend and I, the friend that's messaging, she said, we met at a friend's funeral who had had fertility issues, and her name was Jasmine. She was a chef at the hotel. And we met a friend of mine that's texting. She said, we met at the funeral. We were having this conversation, and all of us have had our challenges, but we have risen to the occasion, and hopefully through our triumphs, we can help other women. But we do
Yes.
have a caller on the line, Dr. Taz. We're going to take this call.
Okay.
Good evening, caller. You are on the air.
Well, it hate to start in away so long with you and your guest, Kenny.
Hi.
Okay. What I want to find out how you, Doc?
I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
Well, I wish I was good as you, or what good as you.
Oh, how
But
can I help?
I don't know if you can help, but I wish. Why do you think women, mature women, doesn't like to say sorry, apologize?
So the question is about apologizing
Yes,
related to.
women. Now look here, before you go, right? Before you all hang up on me, I have granddaughter, great granddaughter, and I know women and I love them and I love children, but I want to know why they doesn't like to apologize when they're wrong, and they just realize that they're wrong but they just doesn't like to apologize. I noticed that with my daughters.
Kenny, you want to take that one, or you
Um,
want
I
to?
think, I think as it relates to women and not saying that they're sorry, uh, it, it, it's just, you have to be able to rationalize what are we really sorry about?
Well,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
what are we really sorry about? But this is a text that has come in. Good evening. Doctor is indeed a woman of faith. Freeze eggs. What does God say about freezing eggs? Well, I don't know if we're necessarily figuring out what God says about freezing eggs, but I do think that God put relationships or marriages specifically for procreation.
Mhm.
And if God is able to give scientists the ingenuity, then it must be something that we can take in rationalization. And I think that we have to understand that the Bible is in some instances up for interpretation. But you know who God is, and we have to do what it is that is best for us and our situations. For Dr. Taz, for me, for any other woman, everybody's situation is entirely different. And so we have to be mindful and respectful of that because we just don't know. And we have to stop approaching people and saying, "Oh, you get fat, eh? Where your children?" Or like y'all, didn't you get a divorce? Like they say the weirdest things. But this is another question.
Hang on. Before you go from there, Kenny, let me just say something to that question
Go
just
ahead.
now. Here's what I am going to say with regards to life. When God creates life, by the way, He's the only creative life.
Yeah.
Let me start there.
Yes.
He's the sole creative life. And life cannot come forth unless He has given authority for that to happen. And He has been able to use that to help couples, married couples, be able to achieve something that may not have otherwise been able to be accomplished. And so, like you said, he's given doctors ingenuity. Like, not we have normalized being able to take chemotherapy for treatment. Once upon a time, that was taboo. Like, I actually know of somebody who decided that they were going to wait for their healing on God, and I totally respect it. And I know that we're going to see this person in the kingdom someday. But there is treatment that God has given man ingenuity to help
Yeah.
individuals who go through that journey to extend their lives.
Yes.
And He has given us all the power of choice. And so, for each person that makes a decision with regards to how they walk their paternity journey out, that's not for me to judge.
Exactly. This comment reads, Dr. Taz and Kenny, thank you for this conversation this evening. But do you know what really gets my goat in most cases? You see these women walking around with no husband and they have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 children. But me who wants to have a child, I have none. I will walk you through a story and I want you to understand where it is that I'm coming from. I have done the work. I did the Christian walk. I waited until I was married to have sex. I bought the bedroom set. I bought the crib. I have the bassinet. But the bassinet lays empty. I'm also in this house alone because my husband left. I often wonder, is it because of my condition? I have PCOS, PCO, PCOS. And this has taken a toll on me, not for one, but for many situations. I am also an only child. So you can imagine what it's like for me. I've thought about adoption. I'm asking him to come back constantly. But how does it make you feel when he can pick up and leave? And if he left me with no child, maybe he'll leave me with a child. How early into your marriage did you and your spouse begin talking about family planning? Dr. Taz, you want to answer that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll start first with regards to the husband that left, the individual, because they could not conceive and because of the challenges they have with PCOS. it may be hard to realize, that could be a blessing because maybe he was not to be the father of your children.
Because if he left you without them,
He could very well, just like she said, leave you with them. That's a hard reality. And as to whether God still has the ability to bless her womb, you absolutely better believe the answer is yes. As we're having this conversation, God may be having someone to come and knock on your door to take you on a date, and that could be the future father of your children. That's the kind of God we serve. The way he works and operates, sometimes I just got to sit back and be like, you know what? Let God do what God do. And at the end of the day, he will get the glory. Now, to the aspect of her PCOS, that's not a death sentence to somebody's fertility, though many people believe it is. It is a leading cause of infertility challenges, and it does impact people's ability to conceive. It is something that mothers should be paying attention to for their teenage daughters because symptoms for it can begin as young as 12. Hear me? People think, again, that when we talk about fertility, we're only talking about people who are trying to have baby. No, this conversation goes way past that. And there are so many treatment options to addressing it. At the conference each year, we've had the PCOS Challenge Network come in. It's a group out of Atlanta. They have about 55,000 members worldwide. And the executive director, Sasha Audi, she's been to our conference the past 2 years and spoken. But she was one too who was diagnosed. And it was like you say, folks, like, you have PCOS, oh my gosh, you're gonna be able to have children. Like, ooh, she is living testimony. Not only has she helped to build a network of 55,000 women, many of which there are testimonies of those who went on to have children, but she is now also one of them. And
so
sometimes we got to turn our pain for purpose and help to empower others on a journey. It's hard. Trust me, I know it's hard and it's painful. And how early do you have that conversation? So to our pastors who may be listening, please, it should not just be about family planning on how many children they would like to have someday. But maybe with your pastoral team and women's ministry leaders and health ministry leaders, you're engaging in training around reproductive health and women's health issues that can present challenges within a marriage. And having those integrated in your premarital counseling sessions.
Okay.
Because we're talking 1 in 6.
1 in 6.
1 in 6.
1 in 6. 1 in 6. 1 in every 6. Let me read this text to you, and then we have a caller on the line. This text reads, and this is a lot for this text. Hi, I just wanted to share something I've never said out loud. I had a miscarriage right in the middle of a food store. One minute I was shopping, the next I felt a sharp pain and started bleeding so heavily I couldn't move. I crouched down between the aisles crying, trying to call for help, realizing I was losing my baby right there. It was one of the most heartbreaking and lonely moments in my life, and I'm still healing from it. This was 7 years ago, but I do have a 2-year-old daughter now. I just wanted other women to know they're not alone. I've since divorced from my husband at the time, but I want you to know that you are not alone. And maybe if we had more of these conversations, we wouldn't see the world as such a cruel place, because women are very cruel, and we have to be honest about that. But as I sat there in the aisle losing my child, it wasn't a woman that came to my rescue. It was one of the fellows that were packing the shelf. And I watched 2 women walk straight past me.
My God. Wow. That's trauma.
That she said she watched 2 women walk straight past her. Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
That's trauma. That's double trauma. She had the trauma of losing a child and the trauma of another woman, another sister, just walking by her. That's double trauma.
We are going to take a call. Chris, is the caller still on? Please patch them in. Caller, good evening. You're on.
Hello, good evening, Kenny.
Hi, good evening.
And good evening to your guests. Very interesting topic you're having here. What made me call was that text who said, what did they say about having kids or whatever it was earlier?
Yes.
Bible. Well, we just have to think about it, and as the doctor is explaining, you have to preserve life in many ways, and if fertility begins as early as 12 years old, you don't know what complications your daughter may have. It could be a couple of years later when her fertility may, from infection or any sort of thing that can happen. So this ingenious method of preserving eggs, I don't see why someone will look at it as something that, isn't God sent, you see, because as you said, it's like insurance. I look at it as buying some gold bars and putting them in the safe. You see what I'm saying? So, modern medicine has given us all sorts of ingenious ideas. And what do they say about people who wants to change people's sex? That is in line with, I think, what God may have made us to do, or say we must do. But people do these things. You see, I have something that I like to say because, I ask my kids. I say, well, who do you get your identity from, doctor? Is it your mommy or your daddy? And all those millions of eggs in the womb, right? That one egg that is procreated, or the sperm has fertilized. If it wasn't for your daddy, you wouldn't be the person you are, right?
That's correct. You get your gene, but I think you get your genes from both parents.
Yeah, and the main thing is, if another egg from your father was to fertilize that same egg from your mother, it wouldn't even be you or me. You see what I'm saying? So, I'm not, trying to say be chauvinistic or anything, but people have to take into account. And this process of what you're saying is something I think everybody at a very young age, as soon as kids say get out of high school, should look to see if they're fertile and preserve some eggs, because here comes you call them, some of my friends, one of my friends call them these stink tennis fellas who come and, ain't bring nothing to the table and bring misery to your daughters. And, it's a burden. So you don't know, and then they leave them in misery. And like I said earlier, you don't know how early, you can run into something that causes you not to be fertile anymore. There's a friend of mine who she works in a government office, and she didn't know she would be walking with a the what you call it? She not the crutches, the walker.
A walker.
Yeah, she had an infection. Went on a cruise, and some earlier infection she had a couple of years earlier, it inflamed her on a cruise, off in New York, and now she walks with a walker. It's like mishaps can happen to her. We don't know what tomorrow brings. So
nobody.
Yeah, that person needs to understand. See, you want to make love, and we make love, and love it's a human thing. Everybody wants to be stimulated, and we have to just be open to the fact that you want to preserve that, because you're not supposed. I mean, the Bible doesn't call for divorce, but if it happens, then one go along, and here it comes along, and There's nothing more miserable, I think, you know what I mean? And my heart goes out to people them that procreate. You know, I have three kids. But, you know, I'm a female, you know, and finding love is one thing. And like you said, wanting to have kids. And like the saying go, tomorrow isn't guaranteed to none of us in any kind of way. You know, that's my contribution to your show. And it's a nice topic. And we
Thank
all,
you.
you know, should look at it as, you know,
Thank
as at an early age. Preserve those eggs if you can. And how long do they have them preserved, doctor?
Oh, eggs can be frozen for indefinitely.
Uh,
As
uh,
long
uh,
as you know, in most places, they can freeze them for a very long time, very very long.
you're
So
talking like decades?
yeah,
All right,
they
you
can
see, so
they can be frozen indefinitely, as far as I'm aware of.
yeah,
Mhm.
we
You,
better be thankful we live in a loving and peaceful nation and not somewhere in Europe where they blowing up each other and preserve life, living under
yep.
the bomb every day.
Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. Please be sure to tune in next week. We have a response, and I want to read the response because now this is the response from the dad. And it says, "Good evening. I wanted to share my side. Good evening. I wanted to share my side of something my ex-wife and I went through. She miscarried in the middle of the food store, and I got the call while she was on the floor crying. By the time I reached her, she was shaking, embarrassed, and completely broken. I held her, helped her get clean up, drove her to the hospital, and tried to be strong. But honestly, it tore me apart too. I don't think she realized how much. I don't think she realized how much I felt it with her. I still see the fear in her eyes from that day. She keeps saying it's okay, but I can tell she's not, and I'm not either. I think she needs someone to talk to, a real therapist who can help her process this, because I don't think she ever really did. And maybe I do too. Losing a child, especially like that, doesn't just go away. I'm sharing this because men hurt too, even when we're trying to be the strong ones."
Mhm. Kenny, um, I'm so glad. Thank you so much to the gentleman that sent that message in. You know, when I wrote my book, my husband,
Dr.
and
Tellers?
when he finally did,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he endorsed it. Can you hear me?
Yes, I thought
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
said when my husband finally did read the book, he shared how I spoke to the loss that we had of our twins. Um, I was on a business trip when I I went into preterm labor, and it was just too early for them to survive. Um, and what I did not really have a conversation with my husband with, and this is sometimes a blind spot for women, was where was he and what was he doing? And it was not until after my book came out, and we're talking, my book came out many years later, right? After this had happened, that he shared with me where he was, what he was doing, how, my leaders at the organization that I work with had him flown up to where I was in Ohio. Um, and I realized that there was a gap in my awareness of parts of his experience during that time. And I share that because sometimes when women go through pregnancy losses, especially those that are very visible, like the one the young lady had at the grocery store, like mine, my early delivery, to giving birth to our children, a lot of the attention goes on the woman. And our men are trying to be strong, but they too are going through this journey. And let's begin to acknowledge them. Let's create space for them in the church, in the workplace, in our community, when they too go through this journey. So I wanted to share that.
This is a text that comes in from clearly a gentleman. Well, thank God for y'all to finally say that men go through things too. I'm wondering if this is the end of the world because you actually have two women that are saying at the same time that men go through things. God bless you. Where can I find y'all on Thursday to bring y'all something to eat? Oh boy.
I can be in my kitchen. I can don't worry, I straight. But you got
I will be on Meeting Street, a public service. Oh boy.
but this is real talk. I mean, men do experience these challenges, and we need to have more of the conversations that allow them to do that. I'm going to put a plug in right here because at our conference next year, we had it our first year, didn't have it this year, but we're bringing it back for our third year, a men's panel, where we will have men talking through some of the experience that they have. We'll also have Dr. Joseph Evans, who many remember him from the conference this year, and some of the things he told the women that they needed to tell their husband about what they're putting on their bodies that could be impacting their sperms, y'all. Dr. Evans will be back and he'll be on that man's panel because there's so much information to really help move the conversation further. We had the minister just about 2 or 3 weeks ago who was saying the humans need to have more babies, right? That was Minister LaRota.
I'm not sure.
We need to have more resources, education, and conversation like this so that we can share with them how they can have more babies. It's one thing to have more babies I think the conversation was to help sustain the national insurance because the population is declining, and it is. The Bahamas national birth rate is declining. That was in our census last year. But what do we do to help move that needle forward? And these are some of the challenges that are being had, and for the lack of knowledge, our people perish.
I want to read these two communications. They were females, not women, who passed the lady in the food store. They are hurting girls who came from a hurting house, not a home. Undeveloped they are. Do men hurt in this society? I'm not sure. Many women believe that they do. This is another. Dr. Taz, I want you to talk about. We touched very briefly on mental health, right? But what we did not talk about was fertility and how it affects our work environment or what happens in the work environment or how people react to us in the work environment. Because you talk about having a baby, right? So you have a baby in January, then 9 months later, or a couple months later, you have another baby. And then you have the woman that's in charge of the department. You having baby again? Or the HR woman that says, Jesus, y'all don't get tired, eh? You never know what to say, even though they're supposed to be professional, right? So right. I want to find out from you, what about workplace bias when miscarriage happens or when you just decide to take advantage of procreation? Like talk to Dr. Daz. We almost out of time. We got 5 more minutes.
Right.
It's 7:24. Right. Talk to us about that, and then give me the information on. You said that you have a conference coming up. Is that true?
We have the early bird registration for the conference that's going to be next year. We're starting early, y'all, because we want to make sure we have everybody in the room.
When is the conference?
April 16 and 17, 2026.
Will you come back for me on the radio?
You better believe I will.
Okay. All right.
We come back on that. But aside from that, I do have a goal, Kenny.
Yeah.
You know what? I am 80 books short of reaching 1,000 books sold. I didn't even realize that. Till somebody asked me, Dr. Taz, they're trying to do a story on me. How many books have you sold of The Secrets of Faith in Fertility? And when I did a count, I was like 912 copies. God. Around the world. Zambia, the UK, Canada, Italy. The people called me from Guyana, sending me message. And I'm like, this is a story, Lord, that had me silenced with shame that you are now using to help others. And so as it relates to the workplace, I say that to say, y'all help me get to the 1,000. The book's on Amazon.
I think I may write a book too, I may write a book about my mom.
You better.
I thought about it, but I mean, Dr. Tom.
No. And you know what? Or maybe we do a collab. Maybe there are more women who are willing to share their story.
They say I talk too much.
No. You can never talk too much when it's about empowering and helping others.
Yeah,
Never.
I can see.
Never.
I'll
But
see.
back to the workplace,
Yes.
what employers have to recognize is that this does exist, right? Let's start with those who are dealing with infertility and
Right.
or losses, and for the leaders that are silent on this conversation, what you don't realize is that these challenges will show up in absenteeism, productivity decline, burnout, and disengagement. When people walk in the door and you don't know what it is, this could be a very, very pressing factor. And so leaders need to look at this as a strategic issue when we're referring to women's health in the workplace. Okay? Now,
Mm-hmm.
as it relates to the bias, right? The workplace bias around fertility and women's health, it really is a quiet thief, is what I could. That's only there. It's a quiet thief of confidence, opportunity, and retention. And when employees feel like they must shrink because their leader or their colleague is saying something about them, everybody loses. Everyone loses. And so it's important to bring into the workplace sensitivity training, knowledge, education around these conversations so that we're not ignorantly saying things that could be impacting somebody else. Because I can tell you, when you don't have confidence, when you don't retain your people, when people are feeling, like they're less than, your organization is not getting its best. You're not able to serve your teams well. And it's time, it's really time. We passed the time for really doing better. Doing
So,
better.
Dr. Taz, I wonder sometimes if we know what sensitivity is in regards to each other or each other's feelings,
We're
because
blind. We're
we
blind.
we
Many times we're just blind.
we are so insensitive, you know. We are so insensitive. But Dr. Taz, give me the information. Give the Bahamas the information on the infertility conference, and I'd love to have you back early next year.
Yes, for
Um,
sure.
to this texter that's text me 6 times on the same thing, let me answer you.
Mm-hmm.
I am not talking about Jonkunu until December.
Ah,
I'm not having no Jonkunu conversation until December. And
all that, because if you start talking about Saxons, she don't know you and me. We look here. If you're in the Mason Editions conversation, then you ain't in the conversation.
I mean, Taz,
So let's hold that for a minute. Let's finish this.
they send one message. They send it. I December. Let's get through November. We ain't gonna take it yet. We ain't get the
Yeah, we
turkey
gotta
neck
have our
yet.
turkey. Let's have our turkey, and then we coming back for John Canoe.
Thank
Coming
you.
back. We
Now,
coming back for
Dr.
that one.
Taz, give us
Yes.
all of the information. Can
Yes.
you give me the information, please? Give us the information so that we know who the early bird special is. Let us
Yes.
know who the speakers are going to be, what
Yes.
type of
Yes.
conversations you're going
Yes.
to have. If is it open dialogue? Give us that
Yes.
information,
Yes.
please.
So the third annual Fertility Empowerment International Conference is scheduled for April 16 and 17, 2026. And the theme next year, 2026, is For Our Future: Awareness, Action, and Access. Powered by every voice, because each one of our voice matters in this conversation for our future. And we're going to have a plethora of doctors, we're going to have our advocates, we're going to have our warriors in the space, we're going to have HR and insurance in the space. And it's a conversation that transcends just people trying to have baby. If you're a mama, you need to be in the room. If you're a leader, a pastor, a government person, you need to be in the room. I can tell you this year, 2025, we actually sold out. And so we know next year is going to be bigger and stronger, because as a community, we're realizing we need to do better for our future. And so we invite folks. Early bird registration ends December 31st. But this weekend, we have a Black Friday sale. And so we invite folks, if you want to catch a Black Friday, it's going to be an even deeper discount, but it ain't gonna be forever. Go to www.fertilityempowerment.org or find me on social media at Dr. Taz. That's doctor spelled all the way out. DoctorTazz on Facebook, Instagram. You can also reach me on WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 827-8299. WhatsApp again, 242-827-8299. So We hope to see everybody there next year. Let's do what we must for our future.
Ladies and gents, for those of you that were listening today within the sound of our voices, thank you so much. I think, Dr. Taz, we may have inspired 2 books coming out of this conversation. And
Let's do it.
And maybe we get it done, right? So for those of you that were listening this evening, Dr. Taz will be back early next year, God's willing, and we will have more on the conversation because of course, we will always need more time to have dialogue. We didn't take any breaks today. We just had conversation, and this is another sexy Tuesday. And this Tuesday, it's 7:30. Get you a nice bottle of wine and put your leg over his or her leg over yours and get you some popcorn and snuggle up with that person. Let the person that you love, let them know, hey, I love you. I appreciate you, because tomorrow is not promised. It is absolutely not promised. And my word of advice, love who love you.
Hey.
Love who loves you. You've been listening to Kendenique Campbell and Dr. Taz. We had fertility conversation this evening. Guardian Radio 96.9, Fresh News, Smart Talk, all day, Kenny's Corner. We will see you next week, Tuesday at 6:30 for another invigorating conversation.